is a Volvo C30, or to be more precise, it's my Volvo C30. Now, I could have bought a Volkswagen Golf or a BMW 1 Series, but there's just something about Swedish cars that I absolutely love. Don't get me wrong, I've owned BMWs before, I've had a couple of those, and I've had a Mercedes, but I've had 4 Volvos and 6 Saabs. There's just something about them that's just that cool, clean, crisp design, that less than obvious choice that makes them cooler than a Scandi noir drama, in my opinion. And now there's this. This is the Polestar 2, which technically isn't a Volvo and technically isn't from Sweden. It's actually owned and built by the Chinese. But as this is the car that's going to take the fight to the ever popular and ever dominant Tesla Model 3, does any of that really matter? I mean, to paraphrase another excellent Swedish export, does the winner really take it all? Let's find out. Yes, ABBA. ABBA, you know, ABBA. Where did Polestar even come from? Well, they were a Swedish engineering company that basically made touring cars out of Volvos, and with some considerable success. There was also a road car division that was spun off from that original race car company. And it became the performance brand of Volvo, almost a little bit like BMW M-Power and Mercedes AMG, if you will. But the Chinese company Geely bought Volvo back in 2010. And after Volvo had then brought Polestar in-house in 2015, Geely had different ideas for the firm. They wanted them to be a standalone EV-centric sub-brand. So that's what they've now become. But also remember, Geely now own Lotus, so that does perhaps give us a promising glimpse of future products to come. Oh, and if you're wondering what happened to the Polestar 1, well, there is one, but it's a much, much more expensive, part carbon-bodied, hybrid-only super coupe. So we're not going to feature that in AutoEV, unfortunately, because it's a hybrid. Still, never mind, we've got this. Okay, let's start with the looks of the car because, well, like modern Volvos, it sort of defines the country of its origin. It's a little bit like a Bang & Olufsen audio system. I know they're from Denmark. Don't write in and tell me that, I know that. But it's just that sort of clean, minimalist look that just looks right. And I'm pleased they didn't go down the SUV route, to be fair. Although the car is actually based on Volvo's CMA platform, which actually shares with the little Volvo XC40 crossover. It's sort of a compact sports hatch saloon type thing, and it's got a slightly higher ride height than normal, but it's quite nice to see that, a little bit different. I love this glass house. It's what they call the visor graphic, and well, because it looks like a visor. And this is something that Saab did with the last generation 9.5, where they black out the A-pillar and it just gives this real distinctive wraparound look to the car. Also as well, you've got this great shoulder line that just runs through, that's been a feature of Volvo design for years now, and this lovely concave panel down here that just sets everything apart with some nice little badging down there. It's got a little sticker down there rather than a chrome badge, a little bit more subtle and a little bit more like, dare I say, a fashion label than a car badge. And then round the front we've got these Thor hammer headlights, which I just think look fantastic, and these great little bit swudged in there with the fog lights and this grid-like grille, which looks fantastic. And also the Polestar badge, which is this real simple sort of 2 arrow things coming together, which is actually a matte finish and body coloured to the actual colour of the car, which I think is just a really nice little touch. And then you've got this lovely sort of fastback design to the car. The car's actually a 5-door hatchback, even though it has a sort of saloon-like look to it, which is odd because the Tesla Model 3, its main rival, goes the other way. It looks like a hatchback that's actually a saloon, but not this. And then look at this rear light graphic. Well, that's just going to please any old Knight Rider fans out there. Just looks sensational. Apart from this is the key. Now, Polestar say that what they're eventually going to do is have the car being able to be operated from an app on your mobile phone. But until then, it's this little plastic box. On a 50 grand car? Come on, Polestar, you could have done better than that. So it's a compact sort of sports saloon hatch, very, very similar in size to a BMW 3 Series, although it is actually shorter than that car. Boot space is good for class. It's 405 litres with the seats in place, and that will extend up to 1,095 litres when the 60/40 split is taken into account and they're folded down. You've also got this little flap that opens up here, so you can separate shopping out with straps and hooks to hang sort of bags on. But more than that as well, you've also got a huge amount of underfloor storage too. And somebody's really thought about this. Look, there's a little prop there to stop it coming and banging on your head. That's really thoughtful. Somebody's really thought about how we use our cars. It's like IKEA in here. You've also got some storage under the front of the car, under the front bonnet. And okay, it's not as big as you get in the Tesla Model 3, but at least it does give you somewhere handy to store your cables. As you'd expect, there is bags of room back here. I mean, again, seat set up for myself, 5'7", 5'8", and I have got plenty of knee room, and I've got a reasonable amount of headroom, despite this big, large panoramic glass sunroof. You've also got seating across for 3. Now, the middle seat passenger, however, is going to have to contend with this hump. Now, there is a reason for this being there, why it's not a flat floor, and I will come on to that later when we're driving the car. But the seats are set slightly higher as well, so you get a good view forward, and even somebody of my height, I can actually see over the, the top of the front seats when it's in that sort of like lower position. It's good back here. You've got nice sort of like little face vents back here, and you've also got 3-stage heated rear seats in the back. So yeah, it's a really nice place to spend a bit of time in. I've got a folding armrest with the integrated cup holders, and of course the middle person also gets the head restraint too. Now, I was very complimentary with regards to the Tesla Model 3 interior, and I still stand by that. I really did like it. I loved its open airy feel. I loved the big sort of like tablet mounted centre bang in the middle of the car. And it's sort of the same but different in here. You don't have that sort of open feel here. Instead, what you have is this rising console, which makes you feel as a driver that you're cocooned in your own little space with everything around you. And that I really do prefer. The console rises up to this 11-inch portrait mounted sort of tablet, if you will, infotainment screen, where everything is controlled through. There's hardly any buttons in here at all. You've got this sort of like centre mounted one here for, I suppose, volume and play and pause, hazards, heated front windscreen, defrost front windscreen, and your heated rear screen, and that's it. Some controls here on the steering wheel and your normal column stocks. Everything else is controlled through the actual screen in front of you. The driver's binnacle, which was missing from the Tesla, because bear in mind that everything on the Tesla was on that screen, you now have a separate screen in front of the driver in the Polestar 2. Now that gives us 3 different configurations. You have, believe it or not, what's called cam view, which gives you just literally big bold speed and battery or range graphics here. You've got driver's view, which is a bit more information, so things like your safety systems, your lane keep assist, that type of thing, or cruise control if you're using it, that would come up. Or navigation view, which obviously brings up the actual navigation system. And that, I think, is slightly better because it's there in front of you rather than having to take your eyes off the road. That was the one thing with the Tesla that I really didn't like, was when you're driving along, you just want to see speed, you're having to glance down there, whereas safety is paramount in these cars, and they've got everything just in front of you here, which I think is fantastic. Also as well is the actual operating system that Polestar have used, and it is the first time that a car has used a Google operating system. Now, I like Google, I got on really well with it. I use an Android phone, so it's all very familiar to me. So my navigation is done through Google Maps. It has Spotify, so I can log into my Spotify account. The car has a Wi-Fi hotspot as well, so if you wanted to, I don't know, use your laptop while you were charging up, you can connect up to the car and work away while you're doing that. As I say, everything else is just controlled through this screen, and it's just so easy, so clear to use. I mean, look at it. Now, you can download other apps from the App Store if you want, or you can position them, but it's basically in these 4 tiles, if you like. And it also works off Google Assistant as well, which is really handy. Hey Google, navigate me to Staines.
Navigating to Staines upon Thames.
I mean, that's fantastic. Just as simple as that. Really, really easy to use. Now, the other thing with this interior as well is it's a vegan interior. Now, okay, I'm not a vegan, but I think it looks fantastic. And this seat material reminds me of the sort of the neoprene sort of like wetsuit thing that's on my little C30R design. It's a really nice material. You do have an option of leather if you want it, but it just comes in the one colour. Otherwise, it's this interior, and it just looks fantastic. And this sort of lovely sort of like satin finished slivers of wood here, and a little bit of piano black, and this massive big glass roof. And the steering wheel isn't leather, it's vegan vinyl. You've got everything you touch is just nice. It's got a quality feel about it. And that whole sort of like just design thing that I keep going on about, car interiors using different materials, that's what Polestar have done, and I've got to applaud them. I think this is a fantastic interior, and as I say, I now think this is slightly better than the Model 3. The other thing about it is it's pretty much got everything as standard. There really isn't any options in the Polestar 2, apart from, as I say, the aforementioned leather interior if you wanted it. In here we've got heated seats as standard, Bluetooth, there's wireless charging for mobile, there's obviously all the safety systems that we're used to in these cars, the navigation, the Spotify, heated seats in the back, everything's powered including the front seats. You've got Isofix as well in the front seat as well as the back. Plenty of storage, as I say, down here with your wireless charging port. There's a cup holder here, there's a nice little bin in there with another cup holder, and you can get bottles in the door, and just really well thought out. It's just a really, really well executed piece of design in my opinion. Now, for the moment, the car only comes in one battery size, which is a 78 kilowatt hour battery, which should, according to WLTP figures, give a range of about 292 miles. So in real world terms, probably looking about 250 to 260. It will take charging speeds up to 150 kilowatt, which means that from a CCS fast charger, you should get from 0 to 80% in round about 40 minutes. From your 11 kilowatt wall box, it'll probably take around about 8 hours to go from empty to full. The other interesting thing with Polestar is they've teamed up with a little company called Plug Surfing, which gives you this little RFID card, which means you've got access to thousands of chargers all across Europe. You know how I was whinging about the key of the Polestar 2? Well, the interesting thing is you don't actually need it to start the car, because it senses as soon as somebody sits in the seat, and the car actually is then ready to drive. So you just get in, pull the little stubby lever back to drive, and we're away. All right, so this is the good stuff. This is all about how the car drives, and it does drive exceptionally well. At the moment, like the battery size, it only comes in a twin motor variant. So there's a 150 kilowatt Siemens motor on the front axle, 150 kilowatt Siemens motor on the back axle, so that's 300 kilowatts spread across the two, which roughly equates to around about 400 brake horsepower. So it's plenty quick enough. Now, as well as everything else, performance wise, the car will dispatch 60 miles an hour from rest in under 5 seconds. Okay, so it's not Tesla fast, but you know what? For this size of car, doing 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds, that's pretty good for my money, if I'm being honest with you. But it's more than that. As I say, you know, okay, the Teslas have got the kind of traffic light Grand Prix sewn up, but it's more about how the car actually drives. And as a sports zone, it's really good. Now, this car we've got is fitted with the £5,000 performance pack. Now, let me explain what you get with that. It doesn't do anything to the actual performance in terms of the power of the car. You get bigger Brembo brakes with the car. You also get them in the calipers in a gold colour, as well as the little dust caps, these lovely gold seat belts. But you also get Öhlins dampers that are 20-way adjustable. Now, that's not done on a button on the dashboard. That's done by getting underneath the car with a socket set or a set of spanners and adjusting the dampers yourself. Now, I don't really see why you would need to do that, if I'm honest with you. I mean, if the car had adaptive dampers, you know, like 3 settings, comfort, sport and track or whatever, I'd be okay with that, and I'd probably play around with it. But really, I can't really see me crawling underneath a car to adjust a set of dampers. And I'm into my cars, but no, I don't see me doing that. However, aside from that, the car is really good to drive. You can really tell Polestar's heritage when you're driving the two. It's just got a lovely turn in, it's got a really nice feel to the steering, and you can adjust this as well through the screen. You can adjust the amount of feedback that the steering gives you, which I haven't really bothered with, if I'm honest with you. The brakes as well do give exceptional feedback too. And again, I know this is the performance pack, so you've got those lovely Brembo calipers and ventilated discs up front, the 4-piston calipers up the front, but it's enough, and you just get a lovely feel through the pedal. And that's one criticism Tesla. I mean, the brakes are pretty rubbish, if I'm honest with you, so this is much better in that sense to drive. But where it really also excels is its comfort. I mean, it's still a Volvo at the end of the day in terms of its, you know, underpinnings, because I say it's based on Volvo's CMA platform, and you've got these wonderful seats. No one does seats, I don't care what you say, no one does seats like Sweden. Saabs, Volvos, in my opinion, I've always had the best seats in any car I've ever driven. And it's part of the reason why I do love them so much, because when you're doing a long trip, you've got such a lovely, comfortable driving position. As I say, the way you're cocooned in this little space as well is really nice. It really works for me. Now, there's, as usual, a raft of safety equipment, as you'd expect with the car. You've got your lane keep assist, you've got autonomous braking as well, all the things that you expect to get with these cars these days, which can be turned off. And as I say, most of the time I do actually do that, I do keep them turned off. But just going back to the brakes for a second as well, the regeneration that you get, it's only 2-stage, and this is sort of like the standard one that I've got on at the moment, and it's really good. As soon as you lift off, you've just got that lovely retardation, and it just garners energy from that, and it just bleeds in really nicely. It's a very smooth car to drive. You can really, once you've been driving it for a little while, you really get to know the car well, and it just feels excellent. As I say, you can understand the engineering that's gone into the car. You can understand maybe the background of Polestar when you drive this car, because it just feels really well executed. There's a huge level of grip from the car as well, obviously being 4-wheel drive. You can certainly feel it. I mean, we're getting into sort of like the winter months now, and the roads are starting to get sort of like wet leaves on them and things, but there's a lot of confidence you get from the two. It just feels properly planted. And okay, there are elements of the ride that are fun, but the flip side of that is the body control is excellent. You never feel it rolling around. If there was one criticism I'd have, I'd just like it to be a little bit softer. For me, I think it being a little bit softer would be better. And also that also does help with the grip as well, because when you've not got that sudden bounce on a damper, it allows a little bit more movement, and it allows the wheel to stay in contact with the ground a little bit more. So there is a safety element from that point of view as well. What's also interesting is these mirrors. They're frameless, so the glass goes right out to the edge of them, and they don't give you a great view backwards. I mean, it's absolutely, you know, sensational view back from the car, and the visibility is actually quite good. The only thing I would say is the C-pillar at the back is quite thick, so the styling element of the Polestar 2 being so good does mean the trade-off is at the back you do have a very thick C-pillar, so for that older over the shoulder sort of like glancing behind you, there's a bit of a blind spot back there. So it's a good job these mirrors are as big as they are. Now, I mentioned about the fact that the Polestar 2 has quite a large centre tunnel, and obviously that makes it a little bit difficult for that centre middle passenger in the rear. Now, there's a reason for that, and the reason is that the batteries actually form a T-shape, much like they do in the Mini Electric, along underneath the back seats and then down the centre tunnel, the sort of spine of the car. Now, that, as I say, does make it awkward for that middle passenger, and of course you do have that large hump in the floor. But the upside is this: in the front two seats, it allow you to get the seats really down low. So from a driver's point of view, you can really get down low in the car, which is a really nice way to have a driving position. And those rear seat passengers, like I said, do have that sort of almost stadium seating feel where they can see clearly across the front seats. The Polestar 2 starts at £46,900 once you've taken into account the £3,000 plug-in car grant that's currently available from the UK government at time of filming. Other than that, options you're limited to really are the £5,000 performance pack that's fitted to this car as we discussed, and things like paint colour, the leather interior and a folding tow bar. So what other cars might you consider if you're looking at a Polestar 2? Well, obviously it's going to be the main rival, which is the Tesla Model 3, its full electric comparison. But bear in mind, we've moved away now from comparing electric cars just to electric cars. They have become so good, there's no reason we shouldn't consider them as alternatives to conventional internal combustion engine cars. So from that point of view, you've also got to think of maybe some plug-in hybrids that are available in this marketplace, such as the BMW 330e, or other compact executive saloons such as the Audi A4, Mercedes C-Class, and also bear in mind the excellent Volvo S60. So here's what we like and what we don't like about the Polestar 2. We like its styling inside and out. Easy to use technology, interior comfort and use of materials, a good range, the standard specification and its build quality. We don't like the ride can be firm on the optional dampers, limited dealer network and the dreadful plastic key. So the question on everyone's lips is, has the Tesla Model 3 met its Waterloo in the Polestar 2? Well, let's remember that Tesla were the disruptors to the market. They came along and dazzled us with 0 to 60 times that would make a supercar blush, and autonomous driving and touchscreens. And let's be honest, they do have a great range and a fantastic charging infrastructure already in place, so that can't be forgotten about. But once all of that sort of like tech fades away into the background, are we left with a car that's exciting and we want to get up in the morning and drive? And I'm not really sure that we do with the Model 3, but you do with the Polestar 2. You see, this is a really well engineered car that's exciting and fun to drive, and it has got the tech that the Model 3 has as well. In fact, I'd go as far to say that for my money, this is the best car in that sort of like compact executive saloon sector. Thanks for watching AutoEV. We'll see you again soon. Oh, and sorry about all the ABBA stuff. I'll get over it.